How is it going, YouTube? Malagant here in the middle of the night playing some Path of Exile. I wanted to come with like a short update and also like talk about Path of Exile a little bit. How I like the new league, what I feel about it basically. So a little bit of like backstory, okay? Midnight story backstory. I started playing actually like Path of Exile just like I started playing Grim Dawn. In fact, was like back in the day. Was a massive fan of Kriparian. I don't know if you guys know. I was like 100% watching all of his streams and like YouTube content. Started from like Diablo 3 obviously when he was like getting that world first Inferno, I believe. Um, and then afterwards, like one day he started making Path of Exile content, and then I joined like this alpha beta sign up stuff. And then the same thing actually like happened with Grim Dawn as well. He started like uploading a couple of stuff of Grim Dawn to YouTube as well, and then I like immediately like bought that game and supported it. Yeah, I think it was on Steam. I want to say about like in Grim Dawn, it was like level 35, level 40 or something like that. It was actually like really hilarious. Um, Short story about that as well. The first time like I've always played hardcore in Grim Dawn, and I finished Act 1, and then on Act 2, towards like um it was like this little cave on the Act 2, right, in Grim Dawn. There's these like shamblers, the golems, the stone golems that like throw rocks at you. I'm playing a Nightblade. um I press my shadow strike towards them, and they all throw a rock at me at the same time and kill me. I got absolutely demolished. That was my first death ever in Grim Dawn. Wanted to share that with you as well. So yeah, like I'm familiar with the Path of Exile scene for a very long time, if you look at it that way. Played it like always on and off, but most of the time played it hardcore and never really committed all that much to the end game, especially on hardcore, because like there are actually like some very substantially difficult stuff that you can do in this game when it comes to the late game, and the game is extremely bursty. There could be definitely some like very unfortunate deaths here and there as well. And granted, I've never played like the entire league like ever. I've always played like maybe 10 days here or like 1 month there if I'm really enjoying the league. Probably like 1.5 months at the maximum. Always taking a break at some point and waited for the next league. Maybe even like skipped a couple of leagues here and there. So the last 2 or 3 leagues, I actually like skipped all of them almost, because uh, even though I checked them out a little bit, simply because like I think the game most of the time had some like issues, and also some sort of like a development side, that I sort of, it might be a little bit awkward to say, but found it a little bit, disrespectful how like imbalanced or untested the things were as they were released. And the community's reaction was either this is not unacceptable, or on the other hand people were saying just wait for the first patch, is going to be fixed. But at the same time, I would like the game to be tested up to a point where like it is ready for the player base to play, because some people actually do play and enjoy playing in hardcore. You really don't want to get like one shot by something that you can barely see on your screen, such as like the ground effects and stuff. I can give more specific examples if you watch Path of Exile content. For instance, Ray's QT's deaths at the start of Heist was extremely questionable, if you ask me. So stuff like that you can definitely turn back and check. And I found it very awkward, to be honest with you, to launch at a state like that, and it was really, really pissing me off. I do honestly, I did even like up to a point that believe that like the best ARPG that was available, was definitely Grim. Right now, Path of Exile is in a good state. So if you're if you're at a location, or like if you're in a state where you would like to check this game, either thinking if you should or not, you should. It's a good time to definitely check the game out. I'm not necessarily sure if I'm going to be making a lot of content. There'll be a lot of like Twitch streams of Path of Exile in the upcoming months for sure. I've also signed up for this like Grim Dawn season, or that is going to be coming up for the February 20th, since they're going to be having a hardcore version as well this time. I think Mike Fick is hosting that, the community league for Grim Dawn. So that's going to be like for February 20. So up until that point, I'm guessing that I'm going to be playing quite a lot of Path of Exile, even after that too, because like I'm really enjoying this league. It looks like just a little bit of like information about the league is that like you can find a lot of content on YouTube, especially for Path of Exile. There are really good content creators out there. But the thing that I really enjoyed about this is the fact that like this one actually, like for the early game and the mid game, even for the late game, it brings something extremely simple to, grasp, understand immediately. You don't really need somebody to like backseat you and give you like tips of this and that. Just by interacting, with the league mechanic, the main league mechanic in the game right now, just by interacting with it, you're able to immediately grasp the entire thing. That is extremely cool in my opinion. That's very unique to Path of Exile as well. And to be honest with you, that is exactly what was needed, as so many past league mechanics have went core. What that means is that like the game now has it by its base, even though it's not necessarily that much uptime. Obviously, like the active league mechanic in this game is always the most that you interact with. But the ones that are like from the past that went core into the game, they're still there for you to be either farming them, interacting with them, or like playing the content. Most of the time you kind of should. It's obviously optional. They can definitely avoid some of the content that you do not like in this game, but it might hurt you in the long run when it comes to like your currency or your stash. So that being said, when it comes to the Ritual League in this one, I really like the fact that like it doesn't necessarily add so much depth and on top of everything, because like I do believe that the game is a little bit too much at this point when it comes to the depth and how much you can learn. So there's like a big sort of like a belief from somebody that is not necessarily starting into Path of Exile. It's saying that like it's very difficult to learn and there's just too many things to learn. Even somebody that is like partially familiar with Path of Exile from like streams, YouTube, and like played a little bit, maybe even up to the maps, which is like completing the campaign, is able to say stuff like, "There's just too much to learn. I don't really want to like bother with this," and stuff like that. I would like you to take a look at this point of view that like I'm going to say as well. It's actually good to have that much depth, and thanks to that, Path of Exile is still where it's at for the entire community of player base that it has, and it's a massive one, right? It's the biggest ARPG title out there, definitely, when it comes to the community and the player base, at least right now. That being said, I definitely like 100% think that like it needs competition, because there are like some questionable stuff even there when it comes to like quality of life upgrades and stuff, updates. 100% it requires like some quality of life updates, like it's undoubtable. But yeah, like maybe Last Epoch is going to be bringing in the competition to this. Well, you might, as a Grim Dawn fan, ask yourself like why not Grim Dawn is the competition, because like the player base is approaching Grim Dawn. Most of the people that play are actively playing Path of Exile and RPG fans. They probably also played Grim Dawn as well, believe it or not, simply because like they're content creators that they watch on YouTube and Twitch. They almost all, in fact, streamed or made content for Grim Dawn on YouTube. And this definitely ripples and showcases the game to them, and they play it. But the way that they understand and grasp Grim Dawn is the fact that like it's a single player game, one time to play, two times to play, and then the game is kind of done. Even though this one is being replenished like every other month, more content is being added and it ripples, and then there's like more to consume, and then you're only putting on top of it. So in this perspective, it's actually a good thing that it keeps on spreading and getting bigger and bigger, but you do need to contain it at some point. That's obviously what I believe. Perhaps like taking away some of the convoluted or like too complicated stuff, or stuff that are not necessarily up to date anymore from the game, would be really good. And I think GGG is probably going to be taking such an approach, especially with the Path of Exile 2. There's the most comments that this game receives from like somebody that is jumping into this is like how this is too intimidating to look at. But there's one thing that I can easily tell you is that like if you're unfamiliar with Path of Exile, is that You know, for instance, I'm playing my character. We didn't really talk about. I've been talking for about like 10 minutes now. I didn't really like, you know, talk about my character at all. I'm playing some sort of like a cyclone. If you're just familiar with Diablo, it's Whirlwind. You know, from Grim Dawn, it's Eye of Reckoning. I'm playing Cyclone here. It's the same. And as a duelist, Cyclone, when I tell somebody that is good at the game, I'm like physical Cyclone, you know, Slayer, which is duelist ascendancy. When I tell somebody that is good at the game that I'm playing this, they will be give or take able to, you know, guess what sort of like a pathing and passives that I have taken. So what this means is that, like, you know, that you don't really have that many options, even though it is this big. You understand what I'm trying to say? So there's, at the end of the day, there's some sort of like a cookie cutter, or at the very least, you know, path that you should be taking to, you know, sort of min-max and make a good build out of the spell that you have went with. In this case, it was Physical Cyclone. It could be Elemental. In that case, maybe it's going to be, you know, starting from another character, and it will be going for another path. But most of the time, you know, when you tell it to a good player, he will be able to, you know, you probably have this and that in your passive tree. And what I try to say from this is that, like, even though it is, you know, this big and intimidating, maybe perhaps, you know, at the end of the day, it's not necessarily all that difficult when you start getting the grasp of things, because you do realize some of these like notables are just far too big for you. You know, you're just like in Grim Dawn Devotions, you write something like sword over here, and then you will be like, you know, checking out the stuff that are pinging when it comes to supporting swords. So if I'm using sword, well, I do need to go and get this kind of thing. That's what I want to say. So if you're curious what I'm playing, I'm only level 87 because I couldn't really go that heavy because of, you know, a little bit of spending time with my son Alex, and at the same time still streaming Grim Dawn here and there, so that, like, you know, I continue making content for the Grim Dawn too. But yeah, pretty obsessed with the game, definitely. Level 87, playing like a Slayer, Cyclone with, like, you know, I'll probably just give you my profile link down below so that you can check it out. It's not necessarily too strong right now. I just recently like upgraded a couple of the pieces that I have. It's an okayish thing. They're definitely like very, very big upgrades that I can go for. Simply put, like, I'm still wearing a level 1 6 link like Tabula right now. So I'm trying to like upgrade. I'm trying to like craft this guy. This is like a Crusader base basically, that I can get like explosion basically on this chest. But then I'll also need to like 6 link it, right? That is going to be yet another thing to work on. Maybe 5 link wouldn't actually be too bad, but then again, like, I still do need to figure out and, like, you know, of this. I think it's like corroded and jagged. We'll see. I'll be probably doing this like on stream tomorrow. We'll see. So yeah, this was like a small update from PoE Exile, you know, what I have been up to lately. There's going to be like quite else of Grim Dawn content coming your way. Don't be sad that I like uploaded something like PoE Exile. Next in line for the Grim Dawn is in fact going to be something like my Dervish character. I'm trying to make like a build guide for the Dervish, but I tried once and I didn't really like it all that much. Hopefully the next one that I'm gonna do is going to be something that I will like. I'll be uploading that. So yeah, the Dervish build guide is going to be like the next Grim Dawn content for the YouTube. If you have any questions at all for like both PoE Exile or, you know, YouTube, Twitch, anything, or maybe even Grim Dawn, as I said, feel free to leave your question in the comment section below. Also, I'm doing consistent RPG content on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you would like my content, and leave a like to the video as well. It helps me out. Thank you for watching, YouTube. I'll catch you later on. Have a good night. And this was some sort of like a PJ content as well. Yes, it's PJs on me. Bye bye.